Know what to eat, but find yourself not eating it. Perhaps you've been on diets and off again and just wonder why you can't stick to them. The Eating For You podcast, hosted by me, Sally Ann Pisk, will show you what's been missing so you can enjoy a healthier way of eating that lasts. Hi, Sally Ann with you today, and it's my great pleasure to welcome Angela Mills.
Hello, Sally Ann. It's been a while since we've gotten together to sit down.
Yes, Angela has been our resident fitness and women's health expert for ever since the Eating For You.
Yeah, that's the beginning of your podcast.
And we're up to episode 156 now that we're recording.
Amazing how time goes, doesn't it?
Yeah, so Angela and I really wanted to talk about how we make movement stick. You know, last week on the podcast, I was talking about why New Year's resolutions don't work for food, and it's very much the same with movement as well, which is Angela is going to share with us today. Because I know on my side of the movement fence, Angela, that some of my clients not being able to stick to regular exercise can actually cause them to stress and eat emotionally as well. So we don't want exercise to be a stress. We want it to be something that is benefit to our health and well-being. So I'm really excited to share these tips today. And I know you have many suggestions.
There's so many suggestions we can share with you. And I think this podcast is quite timely because we've gotten to that stage into the new year now where most people who make New Year's resolutions are starting to fall off the bandwagon, which is, you know, very natural, having that sort of thinking. When you're at the beginning of the year, you're usually quite calm and you've had a break and you're thinking positively about things you want to do. And then once you get back into that routine and the year starts sort of going, suddenly you realise that it's just very hard to actually maintain that sort of enthusiasm when you've got so many other things pulling you in different directions, you know, work with family, with things like that. So it is really good to be able to look beyond that and say, well, actually, no, rather than thinking I've failed with all these New Year's resolutions, let's just reframe it and start looking at how we can create some sustainable habits and just making those small steps so that you keep moving in the positive direction.
Yeah, and I think whether it's an eating goal or a movement goal, that concept of motivation is a bit of a myth, isn't it, Angela? Like it runs out, doesn't it?
Well, motivation is unreliable. The reality is we have many things that call on our attention and our emotions, and it's very hard to maintain that sort of need to have that daily decision making that you need to do if you're going to be motivated. At the end of the day, movement has to be something that's automatic. It can't be an emotional thing that you do.
No.
And sadly, motivation is a very emotional trigger, a feeling, you know, to be able to get into that headspace to want to do things.
Yeah.
We need to move beyond that where you almost take the emotion out of it and you just get into a routine, a habit, so without having to consciously think and sort of build yourself up to have to do it.
Yes, yeah. And I think something we are going to talk later in the podcast is about tracking our progress and seeing how we're improving. And that does actually help with our motivation. It is kind of positive feedback, but it's not, how can I say it, having to find the motivation each day, to do it. And I think something we talked about before we started recording is really important, not just with movement in our life, but all areas. It's that identity shift, isn't it, about who I am and what I'm capable of doing.
Absolutely. I think quite often we come from a space where we want to make change because we're not happy. In ourselves, either in how we're moving, how we look, all those little triggers that we have that sort of as normal people. And quite often, and it is an emotional thing, because if I don't feel good in my skin, I feel I need to do that. If we can sort of shift how we look at ourselves, rather than saying I'm someone who wants to exercise or someone who wants to lose weight or someone who wants to get up early in the morning and be an early riser who gets out there, we almost have to start it's almost like you sort of fake it till you make it. You sort of tell yourself you are that person. I am someone who gets up early in the morning and goes for a walk. I am someone who has my gym gear in the car so that in my lunch break or after work, I go via the gym before I go home. I am someone who has healthy snacks with me so that when I am hungry, I know I've already planned ahead what I'm going to do. So it's almost like you really start to look at yourself as that person that you want to be.
Yes.
And I think in many respects, that's most of the job done. If you can actually get yourself in that headspace, your behaviour will start to mirror, sort of more or less to complement that identity that you
That's
are.
right. And also some of those examples that you gave, well, we start doing practical things in our life. We make sure the foods are available to us, you know.
Absolutely, because if I'm someone who eats healthily, then obviously I will be surround myself with good things to eat rather than temptations which will take me away from the type of person that I now am.
Or, as you said, when life gets chaotic, if we don't have the food there, then we'll order in a takeaway, or
Absolutely.
we'll just have cheese on toast. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I have cheese on toast in the evening, but it's not a regular thing. And it probably has meant that I've had eggs and spinach for breakfast and I've had a stir-fry vegetable lunch or something, and I really don't need much at night. But yeah, we have to sort of plan it in our mind and then plan it practically our day as well.
Because when our day does tend to go off the rails a little bit, we are going to take the path of least resistance to find comfort.
Yeah.
And often that is going to be sitting on the couch and binge watching Netflix, or it's going to be going and grabbing something that you're not good for you out of the cupboard. So you really have to make sure that you don't have those temptations as the first things there when you are in those spots.
Yeah.
If you're feeling down, the best thing you can do is put on your sneakers and go out for a walk.
Yes.
And clear your head, clear your head that way rather than trying to sort of drown yourself in external entertainment.
And I know this was going to be another point that you wanted to cover today, but I think it's sort of come up now that if walking shoes are by the front door or in that sort of eyeball space, then if we see them, we'll say, oh, I can just go out for a walk and that's going to make me feel better.
That's right. Yeah.
So those visual cues are really important. But I think the other thing, isn't it, with movement too, Angela, is that keeping things small, not taking on all these different sort of goals, I suppose, or different types of exercise at once.
Yes. You might think this is actually a little bit amusing, but as a fitness trainer and a personal trainer, I find that one of my jobs is to actually slow down people and actually get people come in, and this time of year I'm quite busy being the new year, and they'll want to sign up for 3 sessions a week, and they haven't even been walking, even doing simple things like just going for regular walks. My job is like, whoa, let's slow down here, guys. Let's just do 1 session a week. And in between, I'd like you to try and do 3 walks or something like that, or something fun. Because I know if people just go full blast into something like this, that it's going to be very hard to sustain it.
Yes.
You almost really need to get your body to the point where you're slowly easing into something. Because, of course, if you do 3 sessions a week with a personal trainer and you haven't done anything before that for years, you won't be able to get off the couch. You'll be so sore. You know?
Oh, I know. and I also know, because you had a big change last year, finding out that my bones weren't as strong as what I would like them to have been. And of course, I started the weight training with the Enero program. And that was really my focus. And this year, now that that's kind of set up, I can get back in and do my weekly bushwalk as well, or go for a swim. Get some more longer and intense cardio happening again. So for me, it's been like that as well. I wanted to keep my yoga going, which sort of complements the weightlifting with stretching and so forth. And now I'm ready to add something else back in. But it's taken me a whole year. I mean, talk about things that are a bit funny. It took me 6 months to learn to do a deadlift properly.
Yeah, well, if you haven't done it before, of course, and you have to be kind to yourself, because there's always going to be something to learn. And you need to be open to be able to enjoy it enough so that you do hang in there, knowing I haven't quite got this sussed, but I'll get there. And just finding ways that you can work around it. What term we use very often in training is regressions, where we actually have to adapt a move, or even make a move. And easier is not necessarily the right word, but you're actually making a move different for someone so that it's right for them, for their body, and that sort of thing. And actually being open to the fact that, look, when you go to the gym and your deadlift doesn't look quite like the next person's deadlift, and that's absolutely fine, because we're all different. But you've got to stay in your lane and find the way that works with your body.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, so true, so true. And I think you've sort of touched on this already. It's about showing up and realizing, for me, like 6 months, who would have thought it would take me 6 months to get this new movement into my head? But I just kept going.
I know, and I was going to say, kudos to you for going, because So many people will do 2 to 3 weeks and then they give up. And a big part, and we're probably going to move on, move into another area now, is the fact that they haven't quite seen the changes yet. It's taken us more than 3 months for our body for us to put on weight and you get to a point where we're uncomfortable in our skin. It's not going to be that quick coming out of it as well. No. So making that your goal is, like, let's say weight loss is my goal. It's always going to be a very difficult one to maintain momentum with, because that is a long-term thing to lose weight. And in midlife in particular, which is most of my clients tend to be midlife women, that's not necessarily what I consider to be the main goal that should be reaching for. Yeah. Sure, it'd be lovely to fit into the clothes you had when you're 20 years old, but what is more important is to look forward 20 years into the future and make sure that you've got that strength in your bones, you've got that balance, you're able to maintain flexibility and mobility through your body. These are the goals that are going to see us through to having a rich life as we get older, and not being able to fit into a skirt that we wore 30 years earlier.
And I think those women who've had children or women who've gone through menopause, you know that your body is not the same. So I get really quite upset and angry when I hear people saying, I'll help you get your old body back. And I'm thinking, well, my body today is not actually even the same as the one that I had yesterday. If you just look at it from a biological sense, with cell turnover and all of that sort of thing. But especially going through menopause, we've talked about this on another episode, your waist naturally thickens because of our hormonal shifts.
Absolutely.
It's not about, I've lost my willpower or I can't eat carbs anymore. It's about a change in shape. Just like when we went through puberty, our bodies changed considerably.
Absolutely, that's right. And if you look around you, look at women. Look at women through the ages.
All shapes and sizes.
All shapes and sizes. That's right.
Yeah, so that's really important. But I think one of the biggest barriers that we all face is about making time. And we say that we don't have time to do things. Right. And I know when I was really busy a few years back, and I'm sure I've shared it before, when I was in Sydney, I made my walk part of my transport for the day. So I built it in that way, and you make time. But as you were saying off air, like, Netflix is growing.
Yeah, so if no one's got time, why are all these online viewing platforms going through why are there stats telling us that people are spending 2 or 3 hours on social media a day if no one's got time? Yes. Redirect that time or whatever it is look, we all need downtime sometimes. You almost need to switch your brain off, especially if you're working hard or you've got going on. But that's where, again, like we said before, it comes back to the fact that if you make this a habit, you don't have to think about it. It's just a habit. It's what you do. Tuesdays is the day you go and you do your yoga class. Thursday is the day that you go for a walk with your friend in the morning, or you create these routines and these habits. So it's almost like they're these little non-negotiables.
And I know I sort of touched on it earlier, having those visual cues to help us get new habits set up, or even if it's my weekly walk, I always get my backpack out the night before. I get a walking pole if it's going to be steep. And thought about whether I need to take lunch or whether I need to take snacks. So when I get up in the morning, it just happens. It's not like I have to use half an hour in the morning to get organised. I can actually literally get up and go.
And that's the thing, if you're around the house for half an hour, there's going to be another distraction that is going to come up. It's very easy for something to come up and just throw you off in a completely different course. Again, another similar one to that is, if you're committing to doing a fitness class, whether it's Pilates, yoga, strength training, see if you can sign up for a term. You've got a commitment then. You have to turn up. You don't have to think about it. It's already in your calendar. You've already paid for it.
Yes.
That there's less resistance to you getting out of it if you've already gone that far down the road with commitment.
Yeah. And I think when you do that, like you were saying before, it's like, if I'm going to have this hour or 45 minutes for the class, make that decision about maybe not watching Netflix for that time or not being on social media, making that conscious choice. Because I remember when I worked at it was actually a health retreat, fitness, health, wellbeing retreat, and I actually did the goal setting education in the program, and it was a concept that was not that familiar to these guests who were highly intelligent, highly motivated people. Was that, if you need an hour to exercise, what are you going to give up as well? Like, where are you going to get that hour from? It's there, But it's that conscious decision. Oh, instead of having an hour on social media, or instead of an hour extra at work when I shouldn't really be there, it's about I'm going to use that hour for my exercise.
I tend to approach it a little bit differently. It comes back to the same result, I would say.
Yeah.
Don't try to think about it more from the perspective, what are you giving up? It's almost perspective of what do I need to actually put in there into the day.
Yes.
And that way, if you're thinking less about what you're missing, but rather what you're gaining,
I suppose,
and you probably will end up missing that hour.
Yeah.
But maybe you're not reflecting on it, because if you're given, if you put two of them in front of you, do I want an hour of watching Netflix or an hour of actually going for a walk? Well,
for some people,
highlighting the fact that there is an option there might be off-putting, might sort of steer you in that direction.
And I suppose I should give a bigger picture to this. Part of that approach is actually looking at how we spend our 24 hours, because people don't know. And then when my clients and the guests at the health retreat actually looked at how they were spending their time, they kind of realised they had wasted time. And that's what I was really talking about, is instead of wasting time, because time is something we don't get back, I'm actually going to fit this in. For some it might have been exercise. For some it might have been on a Saturday, or I'm going to plan the weekly meals for the week, or whatever that was that they needed to do.
I see where you're getting from,
they could actually fit that in.
That's
so
right.
It wasn't really about, I'm not going to be on social media, or I'm not going to be on Netflix. It was more about how am I spending that time over the day, over the week. And because for some, they were overcommitted. They seriously were trying to fit too many commitments into 24 hours. So I've had clients that have taken 2 months to get rid of all those commitments that they overcommitted to before they could actually get their life back into a manageable weekly commitment. And so we're all different, I think.
Yeah, it is. And again, that is a very useful exercise, because it does get you to the point where you can prioritise as well. It's only it's very true. And I always say, well, someone comes in and says they don't have time, more often than not, that's not the problem.
No,
that's not the issue. But it's how do you redirect your energies to something that's good for you. That's going to actually serve you in the long term. Yeah,
because most of us, we know eating is over 200 decisions made a day about what we're going to eat and what we don't eat, and we only remember about 16 of them. So we're making decisions consciously or unconsciously all through our day about all sorts of things.
No, that's very true. And look, the other thing too is that creating a good habit is not an all or nothing thing. There will always be little curveballs there, and it's not necessarily how intense you go with it. It's how strongly you move towards a consistent habit of consistent behaviour. It's like they say, there's a saying: it doesn't matter if you miss one workout, but never miss two. So, I think, of course, every now and then something will sort of turn up, interrupt your flow, but get yourself back on there.
That's right.
Back into it.
If you are feeling a bit tired, then do a lighter workout. Don't feel like you have to do it at the same intensity as you did the last class, because our energy levels fluctuate all the time. The weather impacts on how we feel and how much energy we feel like we have as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I think we can tap into this now. You mentioned too before, Angela, about what's the minimum that I can do in replace of a workout.
The minimum could be leaning against your kitchen bench and doing 5 wall push-ups. That's better than nothing, isn't it?
That's right.
That's true.
And I have ladies in the mindfulness space saying to me, Sally Ann, sometimes I don't feel like, doing 10 minutes of meditation. And I say, well, just take 10 deep breaths.
That's right.
Just really focused, give yourself permission to do nothing else with your mind than focus on your breath for 10. And I think that's important, because then we still think we've done it, and that's just an important thing, that we get out of that all or nothing mindset, because it's so destructive.
It is. I actually just had a recollection. I was yesterday in the kitchen, and I did have one of those days yesterday, because it was quite a busy day, and I was cooking, and I had the music on, so I thought, I'll just dance while I'm cooking. And my husband was out the window mowing the lawn, and just reminding me later, like, what were those crazy movements you were doing in the kitchen? Well, that was my workout for the day. Tick, job done.
That's right. And it's about being creative, isn't it?
That's right.
And having fun.
Which is leads to another point, that it has to be something that you find enjoyment in. And Look, it may be that you don't particularly like doing strength training, but you may enjoy the environment. You may start to enjoy the group of people that also turn up at that same time to do that fitness class. Right. Or the fact that once you do your workout on that day, you then meet a friend for coffee afterwards. So it makes Tuesday mornings your workout and coffee day, and it becomes pleasurable. So you do start to find an element of joy and something that you actually look forward to doing.
Yeah, and look, there can be benefits that you don't expect, and certainly if you're listening, the podcast that I did last year with Belinda Beck on the Neuro program, go back to that, because we did talk a lot about those unexpected benefits, and the social aspect of the classes was something that people didn't expect. And the other thing, Angela, you've talked about before as well, we talked about posture improving. So your clothes actually look better on you because you're standing better. You naturally better in terms of standing upright and feeling stronger, and balance is another aspect for some women in the program. And so that's really important. And I know for myself, it's not my most favourite exercise, but I'm starting to feel the benefit. You can lift heavier things at home safely. When I swim, I'm stronger, and I'm not quite ready yet to get my DEXA scan done again to see if I've had bone replenished, but I'm hopeful at least that I have not lost any more bone, but I've at least maintained what I've got. So it impacts us in different ways.
Absolutely, and we touched on aspects of that earlier, but how do you measure improvement? And you've brought some very lovely examples to the table with that, which actually I can't help smiling when you say that. But then there are the things. It's the improvement in posture. You look taller. Your clothes fit you better. You move better. You've got better posture. You don't fatigue as quickly. It's that ability of walking around and just not feeling heavy in your body because you've got some muscle strength there. I mean, these are the things that are goals in themselves, just that day-to-day much better feeling that you get going forward.
Yeah. And I think it's really important, you talked about it a little bit earlier, about that outcome not being weight loss or a certain weight, because when we start lifting weights, our body composition is changing.
Yes.
So, fat's moving, we're getting more muscle, we're changing shape. There's so many things different happening that having a clothes size goal or a weight goal really isn't the issue anymore. It's about setting up that regular practice and training, whether it's at home or in a class, and just doing it.
It's the turning up that is the goal, not what you think the long-term benefit's going to be. And lo and behold, it just happens without you realising it. Just by turning up.
Oh, and I think for me, being such an active person, I couldn't risk a fall, basically. And Belinda and I had a bit of a joke on the podcast we did, because Dennis, my husband's reaction was, oh, well, you can't horse ride anymore, you can't go skiing anymore. And Belinda laughed. She says, I always say you can do all of those things, just don't fall off the horse or fall over while you're skiing.
That's right.
But of course, you're doing muscles are so much stronger. So
absolutely. Your risk of fall goes down.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's really important. And I think that's where being able to track these changes that are meaningful to you. I know a friend showed me his body composition analysis that he likes to track. Well, not everyone's necessarily tracking at that level, but finding something that's meaningful to you as well to track.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, having something like that. And I guess the other thing too is progress sometimes isn't that visible when you look at it from a daily, weekly perspective. And little things, those little wins, suddenly when you realise, oh, I can lift this quite easily. I didn't even think about it. And I just did it. But even journaling. Yes. Where you start to just see how you feel. And it's not necessarily that you're going to notice this and that, but suddenly you'll start to feel a more positive tone in your writing over time, because you're in a better headspace because of this.
Oh, look, and I've had clients say to me they didn't notice too much with their body size or shape to begin with, but their blood sugar levels had gone down and they'd had diabetes, or their cholesterol had gone down, or their blood pressure, they didn't require medication anymore. So they're really tangible things that have changed, but maybe not what we were expecting. So it's all part of the journey. And I think that's the curiosity aspect of mindfulness that I love, which we can apply to all parts of our life, rather being just focused on one thing. Just be a little bit open about what the possibilities are.
Absolutely. That's right.
Angela, is there anything else that you'd like to add in? We've covered so many valuable tips this morning in our discussion.
I would say that a key thing to keep in mind is that the goal isn't necessarily to love exercise. The goal is to become someone who moves. And when you do that, it's something that you will do on days when you don't even feel like moving. It becomes second nature. It becomes a habit. It becomes something that you don't really have to psych yourself up to doing, because it's the type of person that you have become who does all this. And that's when you get to that point where you start to really feel like you're that sort of person, that you're going to start to find that you're reaching your goals. And it's really just trying to create an environment for yourself where you're setting yourself up to succeed by doing this.
Yeah, and like we've mentioned earlier, that's going to be different for everyone, but understanding that having some personalised instruction for exercise, if you haven't exercised for a while, and especially after hearing my story, and I'm someone who's quite active, it took me 6 months to really be confident doing a deadlift, and being patient with yourself and just going there and getting the support that you need, so you don't injure yourself, so you stay in that fun environment, because I certainly do enjoy the classes. And having that bigger goal at the end can be useful, and that's for me to have the strongest bones that I can have based on my genetics, based on who I am. So whatever is important to you, don't lose sight of that as well.
That's right. And if you're not sure where to start, just start small. Start going for a walk. Go and see if there are any programs in your local, near where you live. It's got to be convenient. It's got to be somewhere that's easy for you to get to. See if you've got a friend that has got a similar mindset to you, where you could actually do things together. Start small. It doesn't mean you have to find the solution and the habit that's going to steer you through the next 2 years. Now,
no,
it may take you 2 or 3 months to get to a point where you're finding the right weekly habit that's that's going to be sustainable for you and that you enjoy as well, and then you're on track.
Yeah. And if you've got any questions for Angela, she's graciously said that I can tell you that you can email her on her website, and I'll make sure the Fit and Fabulous website is included with the notes. And Angela, you mentioned also that you've got some useful articles that people might enjoy about getting moving and staying moving.
That's right. On my website, I do have a page which has got some really good resources and articles which are very much geared towards women and getting moving and any of the challenges that we do come across. And as Sally Ann just said, yes, if you're not sure where to start, if you live near my area, then I expect to see you in person. But if you don't, through my website, you'll find that there's a form there. I'm very happy for you to send me an email, and I'll definitely do my best to steer you in a direction that I think will work best for you.
Yeah, because that's the last thing we want people to do, and I've been there, not so much recently, but you get motivated, you get started and you overdo it, you give up because you're tired or you injure yourself, and then you feel like you're starting all over again. So anything we can do to help prevent that from happening, we're here to help. So Angela, it's wonderful to not only have you back on the podcast, but to see you, because you had some time travelling last year and you also had some family changes, as I did with our parents. So it's just wonderful to have you back.
Oh, thank you. It's lovely to catch up with you again, Sally Ann. Always is.
So if you've been listening today and you're thinking, yes, getting that sustainability with your movement is important, reach out to Angela as she has offered. And if you're wanting some guidance with your eating, then reach out to me, and I've left my contact details with this episode's notes as well.
And my website, which is www.fitandfabulous.com.au.
And that will be in the notes alongside my details. So once again, if you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend who'd benefit as well. And I look forward to sharing with you again next week. You have been listening to the Eating For You podcast with Sally Ann Pisk. If a long-term way of healthier eating is of interest to you, then make sure you subscribe to our podcast.